If you watch this whole video, by the end of it, you'll know exactly how to practice so you can totally rock that upcoming live show that you have. Nearly 5 years ago, I had my very first live presentation as a guitarist. I got to play the Dragon Ball theme song in front of a small audience at my university with other classmates of my guitar lessons. I still remember how I was totally terrified by it, but also quite excited at the same time. I was pretty much shaking due to all the adrenaline that was rushing through my body. My fingers were sweaty and I was overthinking whether or not I'd be able to pull it off. I got on stage and I did, I believe, quite a good job. And the moment we stopped playing and we heard the audience clapping and shouting to us, it was amazing and quite satisfying. However, the performance wasn't perfect. I didn't play as well as I thought I was going to, and well, pretty much my whole body besides my hands was totally paralyzed. In this video, I'm sharing with you some tips and ideas that I wish I would have known back then and that have helped me these recent years as a musician. By using these tips, I was able to recently perform in a very decent and satisfying way a song that was quite challenging for me. So, if you're about to have your very first live show, or maybe you already had a couple which you thought they could have gone a little bit better, you're in the right place. By the way, these tips come from my background as a guitar player, but most of them are pretty transferable to other instruments, so if you play any other instrument, I invite you to stay. You can find some value here as well. First of all, let's briefly discuss why playing live is so hard. Whenever you're playing alone in your bedroom, you're most likely just thinking about what you're playing. You focus on the backing track, the next notes that you're gonna play, staying in tempo, and all the other things that you need to think about for playing a song correctly. This totally changes when you're playing live. In addition to what we just said, you'll have other mental and physical barriers. You're gonna be thinking about that girl or boy that you invited to see you play, the rest of your audience, if whether the sound is working properly, the moves you're doing on stage so you're not boring to look at, and the list goes on. You can also potentially add sweaty or shaky fingers that might come with nervousness, as well as the difference that makes playing standing up compared to just sitting down. Let me introduce you to the concept of headroom. This is pretty much the RAM memory of your brain. Whenever you're playing in your room, you don't use that much of headroom. You don't have to think about that much of stuff. But when you're live and you start thinking and worrying about everything that we said, well, your brain gets saturated. It gets you out of focus, ultimately affecting your playing. It pretty much crashes. Practicing over and over the songs that you're gonna play is crucial to sort of play them automatically and be able to have headroom for the other stuff as well. But saying just practice is quite obvious and honestly not enough, so we're gonna dig deeper on how to improve this headroom. What we're gonna do to work on this is called stress testing, which I will explain with the first example. When you'll be playing live, you'll most likely have strong blinding lights just in your face. They probably won't let you see the fretboard as clearly as you normally do when you practice. But you can be prepared for this by placing a strong light just in front of you during your practice session. Second example, depending on your genre, you'll probably be playing standing up. I believe this is quite obvious, but practice standing up. It makes a huge difference the feel of playing standing up compared to just sitting down, especially if you like to use your strap in a lower position, which I do. I just think it looks quite cool. Now we can combine both. When you practice, make sure that you place a strong light in front of you and that you're standing up using the same strap height that you will use live. So now that you've grasped the concept, let's get into other situations and how to stress test for them. When you're playing live, you'll be playing with other musicians, which probably won't be professional musicians, so it's not a perfect backing track with no mistakes at all. They'll probably make mistakes, they will get out of tempo, they will play the song slightly different, and all that will sort of get you out of focus if you're not prepared for it. You'll need to adapt to these potential mistakes. You can stress test for this by playing with different backing tracks, not only the same one. If you're gonna be playing a cover, I think it's even better if you look for other bands' imperfect covers out here on YouTube. I think there's a ton of them, and play over them. You can also look for drums only covers, or maybe that include another instrument, and practice this way using different resources. This will help you to get used to imperfections and to train your brain to adapt to different sounds and situations. Needless to say, the optimal thing would be to actually play and practice with your band, but sometimes this is not possible. You have to practice by yourself, or maybe you can't do it as often. Moving on, I can also tell you by experience that you'll be worrying a lot about the audio when you're playing. You'll be thinking, is my amp loud enough? Am I too low? Am I too high? You'll get quite a distorted audio when you'll be there playing up on stage compared to what your audience is listening to. So these thoughts will inevitably cross your mind. Unless you're playing with some in-ears monitors, which you most likely won't if it's your first or second live show, you might not hear yourself well or your other bandmates, but if you or other person did an appropriate sound check, chances are that your audience is gonna be listening just fine. A solution for this is to be conscious about it and prepared for it. So whenever you're practicing, try different scenarios. One, when you barely hear yourself and you hear just your bandmates, and one the other way around, in which you barely hear your bandmates and you hear to yourself quite a lot. Do not only practice with the perfect scenario. Temperature. Depending on the venue and where you live in, the place might be in the cold or in the hot side. If it's cold, let's think about an exterior setting. Your fingers will also get cold, hindering your speed and your ability to play complex stuff. Of course, always make sure that you get a proper finger warm-up before the show, but you can also stress test for this by practicing in a cold setting. You can do it in a room with air conditioning or by going outside at night and playing. On the other side, a hot setting will make your fingers sweaty, also affecting your playing. Even if it's not even that hot, the adrenaline rush of the moment is probably gonna make you sweat. So you can get in a hot room, maybe turn the heating on, get your fingers a little sweaty, and practice this way so you're prepared. Now let's talk about stage presence. Honestly, it's very hard to have any sort of a stage presence when you're doing your first live shows. Being real, you probably won't be Angus Young moving all over the stage, but you should avoid being still as a rock because that's gonna be very boring for your audience. Strive to do simple moves when you're playing the easiest parts of the song, maybe not the solo, but whenever you're playing an uncomplicated pattern or just strumming chords. To practice this, you can place a mirror in front of you, and also you can record yourself so you can see the assemble of it afterwards. Now it's time to put all this together by doing comprehensive stress testing. First of all, think about the setting that you're gonna play in and try to stress test accordingly to this place. For example, if you're gonna play in an exterior setting, get in a freezing cold room with the AC on, put your strap on, get on your feet, place an intense light in front of you. If you have other lights such as LED lights, that can also help. Do this in front of a mirror and make sure that you're recording yourself. Play over an imperfect backing track and lower your volume so you can barely hear yourself. Try to make moves in the easiest parts of the song, all at once. You can start by stress testing individual stuff and then gradually adding more layers as you feel more comfortable. Once you put them together, you can do simulations of the live show. Say to yourself, you know what? Let's pretend that this is it. We're gonna play, we're about to go live, there's no second chance. If you're playing just one song, pretend that you were there the day of the show, combine all the stress testing and play. If you make mistakes, which you probably will, don't stop playing but continue and recover from them, as if there was no second chance, just as it's gonna be. If you're playing multiple songs, do the same thing non-stop with all of them. Remember, you'll most likely make mistakes. Embrace it and remember that most people won't even notice them, or they won't care. Don't let yourself fall in the trap of unfocusing, thinking about the mistake that you just made. Once you've done the simulation, watch the recording, analyze what you could have done better, work on it, and repeat the process. Do a second simulation, then a third, and so on. By following this method, you'll be able to improve your headroom, or actually more like decrease the memory size of the potential interruptions that you will face whenever you're playing live, ultimately making you play and perform better. So that would be it for the video. I hope these tips were actually useful for you. If you think that I missed something important, which I'm pretty sure that I did, please leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to my channel if you found some of these tips useful and you would like to see more related content. See you in the next one.